Do the introduction, Dave.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Guitar Geekorama podcast.
Episode 11 already.
Yeah, already. Although,
Cool.
if you were waiting for the episodes, you might have not thought already because we had a little break. But we're here. We've got a new camera we're trying out. So if you want to give us any feedback on whether you prefer this camera or the one before, let us know. Yeah, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
Good. What's on the agenda for today? What are we looking at?
Well, we'll do a quick what's new thing, and then as requested by Glenn Downer, we'll look at kind of pickup comparisons.
Okay.
So we'll talk about difference between single coil, humbucker, and blah, 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 and then we'll compare some humbuckers just because it's an area I'm quite interested in. I've got a few different types. I bought the ignitor up today. Just because I wanted something a bit more high game when we were running through the Laney Cub.
Sure. Before we do anything else, I want to know about this. Why has this made another appearance?
Can you see that on camera there? Yeah. So this is the Behringer Ultra Metal. Do you remember how we were challenged to get a good sound out of it?
Yeah.
I might have done it.
Okay.
I might have got a good metal sound out of it.
Okay.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, sure.
Right, okay. Wind back the gain on that.
Right, it might help that it's running through the igniter, no?
yeah, true. That's that clean sound. Sounds reasonable.
It does sound metally. Sounds very 80s, sort of 80s box, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, the way I got a good metal sound out of it was to buy one that wasn't broken.
Okay.
So
that's not really a trick, is it? No.
Yeah, so I guess that we owe Behringer an apology for
I will never apologise to Behringer, ever. No,
Having said that, if I was to choose which one to put on my pedal board, I'd take the broken one just for the sheer comedy effect.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, so we've now got an Ultra Metal that I'll never use and a broken Ultra Metal that I'll probably never use. Maybe we need a competition.
This is giving us quite a lot of buzz. Shall I turn it off? Yeah, there we go. Right, so that's the trick then. First of all, if you want to get a good sound out of a Behringer pedal, make sure it's not a broken one.
Yeah,
that kind of makes sense. Cool. All right, well that's out of the way then.
Yeah, so we've done that.
All right, okay, a kind of apology to Behringer. It was unfair.
Yeah, it sounds pretty much as good as the equivalent Boss.
Ooh, no, that is a little bit.
Let's say that the Boss version of that pedal never sounded great.
Okay, let's not get into it. Yeah. All right. Well, so you're talking about pickups.
No, let's do what's new.
Okay.
What's new? Got anything new to talk about? Any new gear?
No, I've just been doing drumming gigs recently, so just drums. I can tell you what is new. No, actually, I've got something right.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I mentioned this last time, but the guy in that band was using an old Vox Valvetronic amp. And again, he used it last night, and this is going to sound blasphemous, but from where I was sitting on the kit, we had a Marshall 50-watt head and cab going against Valve, going against that Vox. And I would have chosen the Vox. Now, I don't know how it felt playing them, but how it sounded, I would have chosen. And I'm not talking about a nice Vox either. I'm talking about like this cheapy Valvetronic. So that's quite controversial right there.
It is controversial because I never really liked those Valvetronics. But,
Me either, but I mean,
is it JCM 900 that he's using for Marshall?
I think it is, yeah.
Maybe he's just not said it very well.
It may not have been dialed in beautifully, but... And again, we were playing in a marquee, so that's always just dead. You got no sound in there. And probably the Vox had like a little bit of, reverb and maybe delay on it or something. So I don't know.
Interesting though. Still good that it sounded good.
Similar thing in rehearsal as well. So I was just like that sounds way better than it should. Yeah. I don't know.
Just hit upon a lucky.
Maybe it's like the Behringer. Maybe it's broken, right? Or that one's been like possessed by something. And
by an original Vox AC.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
No. So that's the only new guitar stuff. What for me? What have you got going on?
So, in terms of things I've got new, I finished the Stratocaster build that I did.
I was looking at that. So this is a short scale, Bizarro caster. That's what I'm gonna christen it.
So this is an official Fender short scale. So this is a modern player. I think it was short scale one. It's got the Filtron pickup in the bridge like a Gretsch, as per standard. I've just refinished it in the kind of shell pink, which I've given quite a heavy relic to. And yeah, it's alright. It's alright, man. But I thought we'd talk about that today because we can talk about the Gretsch style humbucker alongside a regular humbucker as well.
I like that. That's kind of interesting because I had a Mexican Fender Duosonic short scale, and that thing would not stay in tune no matter what I did. This feels fine. The tension feels fine and everything, and it feels like it's going to. The intonation's not too bad. I put 10s
on it to try and bring the tension up more than you get on a Strat normally, but
I tried all kinds of stuff on that Duosonic, and in the end, I just had to ditch it. I just didn't have a use for it, unfortunately. And it looked awesome.
Yeah, it's a shame because they look badass.
Yeah. But I remember like messing around with it a lot, going, no, I have to make this work because it's a cool looking guitar. But wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be the short scale that caused that issue. It would be probably a combination of cheap tuners and a badly cut nut or something.
Probably, yeah.
It's a fixed bridge as well, aren't they? So you don't even have a trem to worry about.
Yeah.
Strange one.
I only got it because I saw Dweezil Zappa had one, and I was like, I want one of them.
I get it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. So, okay, otherwise new stuff. We were talking earlier about the new Charvel DK24.
Yes.
And how much I'd like one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen these in the news or anything.
This type of guitar is no longer on my radar. But
you say that. But these new ones are supposed to bridge the gap between the heavy metal style guitar and the Strat. So they've released a couple of ones which have a more kind of standard shape. They've got a compound radius neck, so they're not completely flat straight guitars at the neck. They're
I mean, I do know that they're very, very well made, aren't they? Charvel have always been very high quality.
Yeah, very well made. They're in some nice colours. We've got a nice shell pink one with an HSS setup.
What is it with you and shell pink at the moment? What's going on?
I don't know. I've got a thing for pink at the moment. It's
okay.
Let's stop that conversation.
Right, whatever.
But they've got some nice little outlet options. Like they've got a Strat style input in them, but instead of being at the front, they're kind of downwards at the back.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that's sensible. Yeah.
They just look really nice, and everybody's raving about the quality.
Okay.
They're very similar to the new Ibanez AZ range or AZ range that we talked about for Winternam. You know, that kind of where the heavy metal brand has kind of gone more into the kind of modern kind of Strat style.
So
thing with like Sur type.
Right. Okay. So this is quite a new release, is it?
So this came out in Summernam, which was a couple of weeks back now.
Oh, okay. But none of the big UK stores have got it at the moment,
no,
right?
I don't think they're released till October.
Oh, okay.
Even though a few have got like the demo guitars that have been going around. At least I went to Guitar and Anderton's this weekend and I couldn't find it.
Right. What kind of price point are they then?
Well, this is the interesting thing. So for the AZ range from Ibanez, they're looking at kind of £1,600 to £1,900 for those, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, but for the Charvels, they're kind of £700 to £800.
Okay.
So in line with their kind of current range of guitars, price wise, and I think that's reasonable. So I just want to try one out and see what all the hype's about.
Cool.
Anyway, should we get on to our topic?
Yeah, why not?
Right. So Glenn Downer messaged us on one of our comments on YouTube and just asked if we could do a pickup comparison, kind of explain the difference between pickups. So we'll look at that. We'll look at some different humbuckers and things like that. So should we start with single coils? Let's start with a Telecaster.
Okay. That's a good place to start. So the Telecaster is one of the first solid body electric guitars. It's very simple design.
Yes.
And it's 2 single coil pickups, one in the bridge and one in the neck.
Yeah, very true. Although they're quite different to the sort of single coils you might get on a Strat or something
Absolutely.
like that.
But the thing that I heard about them was that bridge pickup was designed to emulate the sound of a slide guitar.
Well, it was originally used on the lap steel guitars, which is why it sounds like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of carried that forward with the big metal plate that's on the bottom of the pickup. So with a standard single coil, you've got a bar magnet at the bottom, and it bolts into normally a plastic pick guard. With these, they have a big metal plate on the bottom, which adds to the magnetic pull, and they bolt to this metal plate here, which is directly attached to the strings in this case. And that gives it that twangy sound, which is synonymous for that country style twang, but also like the bite and stuff you get from.
If you hear sort of, really renowned telly players, I'm thinking of Jim Campione I forget his surname. But you see that guy, he uses the volume swells and the tone knob to get just ridiculous levels of lap steel-esque goodness, and he's a tasty player anyway. Excuse me, but you can get a lot out of the guitar considering it's only got 2 pickups.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, I believe the telly pickup is taller than a regular, and slightly wider than a regular single coil, so you can get more coils on it, so it's slightly hotter output.
Right. Or no output at all.
Could you plug this cable into the front of the amp, please? So it's got quite a bright, brittle sound to it. Yeah, and it's used by loads of people. Can't even begin to list the people who use the Telecaster, because just about everybody. Sounds really good with punk, sounds really good in kind of rock and roll. Most people just love that bridge pickup. The neck pickup, quite a lot warmer.
Yeah. Well, there's a big difference there, isn't there? Between those 2 pickups. I'm thinking of another. Oh man, I've forgotten his name. I'm not good with names this morning. A jazz player who plays tellies almost exclusively, and he's really messed around with pickup placement and different routing ideas and all that stuff. And the range of what you can get out of it is ridiculous, because obviously the country players use it, then bands like Radiohead use it, and then through to jazz guys as well.
Exactly. Used across the board. If you ever wonder what's the guitar I need that I can do any kind of gig with, Telecaster.
Yeah.
With some gain. A lot of gain. Nice. Right, should we compare this to a Strat style single coil?
Yeah, probably sensible.
So this is close enough. So this is a Yamaha Variax. Variax from line 6. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago in terms of tones, but when this is plugged directly in, it's a standard Stratocaster, without going through the gubbins of. So that, with this, just to explain it, this has a piezo in the bridge, which is activated by the switch, and that's where all the modelling comes from.
Yeah, I see.
Without that, it's a standard Strat style pickup. So you've got 3 single coils on this, and a 5-way switch, so you can get all the pickups independently, or those 2 together, and those 2 together, which is where you get the very standard kind of Strat. That kind of out of phase sound that Strats are really famous for. Yeah, so again, you can probably hear it now, but single coils are very renowned for their noise.
Mm-hmm.
They feedback quite a lot, which led to the invention of the humbucker and the PAF style pickup. Now, a humbucker is 2 single coils wired together reversely, so they cancel out the hum. And interestingly, my Strat, which I forgot to bring with me, has that. So the middle pickup is reverse wound. So in the in-between settings, they act as a humbucker, so it cancels out the noise.
Okay.
And there is quite a big difference. It doesn't quite have the twang though, so I do actually regret that decision.
Sure.
And I'll probably swap that middle pickup at some point for a standard one. So if we move on to the sound of a humbucker now.
All right, well, hold on a minute before we do. So one thing that's worth noting about the Stratocaster is you can get a hell of a range of tones out of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, very versatile.
And Leo Fender got it right with this instrument. There's some things he got really wrong, like trying to thread the guitar through the strings through that back plate is just infuriating. But apart from that, no one seems to have changed it.
And if you got your trim set okay, they do line up, but it is a bit of a pain.
But anyhow,
Anyway,
so it's small
this is
gripe.
very rare to have these on. Most people just dispose of those completely.
But the range of sounds you can get out of it, especially if you start messing around with the tones and everything and the out of phase positions, you can get a lot out of even a relatively cheap Stratocaster.
Yeah, exactly.
When we were kids back in the day, everybody started with some knockoff Strat, right? An Encore Strat or a Hohner Strat or something like that, right? It's a Strat type guitar, right?
Yeah.
And the holy grail was to try and get a Les Paul style guitar or SG, wasn't it? Because of the you wanted the kind of like Guns N' Roses, or whatever. And that's true, but I think as you get, obviously, like the humbuckers are a more stage worthy rock pickup, possibly, but I think as you get into your guitar journey, you will end up coming back to a Strat and dialing down the gain a little bit and getting that. Because, for example, a lot of the time when I find you've got 2 guys playing Les Paul type guitars, humbuckers, they're kind of competing for a very similar sonic space on the stage, right? If one of you's playing a Strat, it gives you a whole other range, and you can just dial in a frequency very quickly, and instead of just cranking the volume, you can cut through the mix, do you know what I mean, when you're soloing. And if you look at players like Jimi Hendrix, you look at players like Jeff Beck, I know you don't like Jeff Beck, but the guys who are looking for real articulation, I mean, Dave Gilmour's another one, isn't he? Yeah, they're playing these big rock gigs and using the Stratocaster. So it's a different. I used to think of it as a lesser pickup, but it's actually just a different type of power.
Absolutely,
I think,
and that's why you come back to it. It's that clarity that you get from a single coil. So. Well, it's got a range of tones. It sounds nice.
And not just the rocky stuff. Think about like Nile Rodgers and all of the funk guys. Definitely they've been using Strats.
Right. So we'll move on to the humbucker.
Let's do that.
That was on the cleaner setting as well.
Right.
So we've got a lot more output with these. Obviously, we've got twice as many coils and magnets and a lot more winding. So you get a lot hotter output. So it overdrives the amp a little bit more. It sends it into drive, which is why winding the gain down on the amp like I did for the single coil was enough to give it enough clean. This is still pushing it. So you can hear, a lot less noisy.
Yeah, and I think also that, you know, if you're going to be honest about it, you've lost some of the articulation as well. It's become...
Yeah,
Yeah, it's lost some sort of top and middle frequencies, and at this volume it's not so noticeable, but when you get to gig volumes, sometimes it can come across as sounding muddy if you're not careful.
In the mix, certainly. You have to be careful about it. Now, on this guitar, I do have a split humbucker feature. So this allows me to turn off one of the coils on a humbucker. So effectively running it as a single coil. And if I put both pickups on, you
get that out of phase sound.
Get me out of phase. It's not quite got the sound of the Strat, but
but here's the problem with all of those kind of like coil splitting ideas. You'll dial your amp in for a humbucker, and then as soon as you hit those split coil sounds, it will sound weak and fizzy because it's been dialed in for almost double the output.
I quite often use it for that.
Yeah, that's fine,
I'll
but
use it for like a rhythm sound.
But I think this might be where people get confused, you see, is because if you plug in a coil splitting guitar, you go, oh yeah, the humbucker sounds awesome. The single coil sounds weak. Yeah. Really, to attenuate it properly, you would have to have, a different channel to run.
Settings,
but obviously.
No, I agree. Yeah. So, if you've got twin humbuckers, you can add a little bit more flexibility and variation to your sound by coil splitting, which is what I do to most of mine. I think all of my guitars with humbuckers have got this. So as long as you've got four cable humbuckers, which most do, you can wire them in this way. Yeah. Now these are DiMarzio d-activators in this. So not the standard Washburn pickups that came with it. I really like these. They have a lot of bite to them. Some humbuckers do sound a bit muddier than this. I particularly chosen these. Also, I love the kind of the 80s metal sound. So I like pickups which really kind of pick up the harmonics when they're distorted. So, ooh, good noise. We've got quite a lot of harmonic overtones in it. So I really like the d-activators. My the Ibanez we talked about the other day, but I got a new red one that's got that in the bridge as well. This has got a PAF Evo, I think it is in the neck. So this is Steve I neck pickup that he runs on his Ibanez.
Does he want it back?
No, he's got loads. So I've got a bit more of a richer sound than the bridge pickup. Good combination for me.
Now the traditional kind of configuration, so Les Paul or SG, one of the things that it was originally designed to be able to do was have that kind of rhythm and lead sound. Yeah,
that's right.
And I have been messing around with that a little bit. Do you have anything that is configured that way? You haven't, have you? Right.
No, I don't. Sorry. I know what you're saying. So you've got the two separate volume controls.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can wind down the volume on one pickup, and then when you flick over the switch, you get the boost that you need for the lead, and that's typically neck for rhythm, bridge for lead.
Because that's another, that was a kind of a design feature of that guitar, and I'm sure that fed into the pickups as well, and the way that they were used, and the way that the guitar started to become used.
Sure. However, I don't always find that's the case for me. I don't often play rhythm on the neck. It's a bit muddy. No. So just because of the position of the pickup, it just sounds a bit muddy regardless of the volume level. So I tend just to wind down on the bridge pickup.
I think that's because you need to dial in for that rhythm sound on the neck pickup, and then treat the bridge pickup like a boost.
Like a balls out.
Yeah. That's the difference. Yeah.
It's very rarely used like that these days. But
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot because you can kind of like adjust it on the fly, and everything's there on the guitar. But I like doing things the old-fashioned way anyway. I don't even like switching channels on an amp, to be honest.
No.
It's too much tech. No, it's not quite that, but it's just like just to sort of dial in a really good sound, and again it gets you back to what your fingers are doing, not what the pedals are doing. That's my 2 penneth.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
So let's say you've got a Stratocaster, but you want something with a bit more power in the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
What options have you got?
Well, like my not custom telly, my modern player telly has got a Strat configuration with a humbucker in the bridge.
Sure. So if you want to keep your existing guitar, you've got to kind of cut your scratch plate or buy a new scratch plate for it and rewire everything, right?
Or the stacked humbuckers, right?
Exactly, which is what we'll look at next. Do you want to grab the... Right, so in the bridge this has a stacked humbucker, which is basically a single coil sized humbucker. And so basically you've got 2 coils stacked on top of each other. They cancel the hum out, and then again you can split them to be single coils or just run them as is.
Where is it?
You can hear the level difference between the single coil and the humbucker. Oh, no. You can hear the difference in gain. You can hear the difference in kind of thickness as well between the 2 pickups.
There's quite a jump between the 2 of them. Yeah, which is cool.
I wouldn't say that the stacked humbuckers have as much output as a standard humbucker, but they do the job of cutting down the noise and giving you that little bit extra.
Yeah, and they will fit into any single coil space usually, won't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly that. So it's another option.
But this is quite a special single coil in the neck here, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is a lay sensor. This is kind of voiced more like a humbucker, so it's got slightly thicker sound to it, even though it is a single coil.
And isn't this noise cancelling as well, isn't it? Yeah, so
is.
they take away that sort of hum that you might get with a Strat.
So you don't see these very often. They were in like the 90s kind of pro Strats.
And Eric Clapton as well.
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah, that was one of them. And I think they sound nice, but maybe a little bit more clinical.
They do have it does have the characteristics of a humbucker actually. I think, yeah.
But without the gain necessarily.
Yeah, so you've got some of that range there, some of that difference between the single coil sound and the humbucker sound. Should we grab something else?
So these are humbuckers again. These are bare knuckle pickups. So these are hand wound in the UK. They're a fair bit more expensive than the DiMarzios that I was running on the Washburn. And I believe there's a d-activator in the bridge. No, that's the DiMarzio. These are... Come back to me. I'll remember what it is in a minute. Aftermath.
Nice little range of tones.
Exactly. I chose a more kind of classic style path humbucker for my neck from Bare Knuckle, so that I could kind of get the jazzier sounds. If I was to wind down the gain and wind off the tone a little bit, you can get it a thicker sound. So just
I think you could, yeah.
So I mean, if we back to back the aftermath that's in the Bridge Abyss with the activation of that, we could just kind of get an idea of the different types of characteristics in it. Now I know this isn't scientific because of a different, string configuration, wood configuration, and that kind of thing. So to me, this sounds like it's got more gain, it's got more clarity, maybe more high end than that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So
they both sound nice.
They both sound nice, yeah. But it kind of shows where the extra money goes in them, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
which is kind of what we're getting at. Now, these are both traditional style humbuckers, but I've got a couple of guitars here that have non-traditional style humbuckers on. These are Fishman Fluence pickups. So these are active in a way. They have a battery in them, they're powered in them, but they're not the standard kind of magnets and coils that are used on a regular pickup. The coils on these are printed onto circuit boards, which means that they're all exactly the same. All pickups will sound exactly the same. There's no variations. And you can do different things with them as well. So you can split them. You can half the output on them because you can just disable some of the circuit boards, etc. So that's what the two buttons are on the bottom. You can't quite see on screen at the moment, but there's two
shiny buttons.
Two shiny buttons, yeah. So one of them kind of coil splits, and one of them puts it into kind of classic mode, kind of halves the output.
Oh, is that that's for the neck, is it, or?
No. Huh? One of them coil splits, one of them puts it into classic mode. It's a very subtle difference. And we'll hear it more in a minute.
I can hear that.
Yeah, it's quite a subtle difference, but these are the classic versions, so these would sound like your traditional Les Paul pickup. If you want something with a bit more of a modern sound, if you grab the S series there. So these are the Fluence moderns. It's got a higher output. It's got the same switching configuration, except these can go down to your classic sound.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Thanks, Alexa. I am. This can go down to your classic humbucker type sound, and can coil split, but can also kind of half the output as well. So if these are on push pulls for the different sounds, and the coil splitting is integral to the 5-way.
Okay.
That's both humbuckers. Single coil is out of phase. Next single. Sorry, yeah, humbucker. Both humbucker. So if you now pull out the, pull out that. This kind of half sync gives half the output. And the other push pull on the
That's got a lot of it's got a lot of range. That's really actually nice. It's got a lot happening in there.
And also, if you pull out the push pull there, that then puts it in classic mode as well.
Interesting. Good, right? I feel like you could play around with that for quite a while and get quite a lot out of it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, for this type of guitar, I wanted something kind of quite modern sounding, so I bought them. But actually, what I end up using is both the humbuckers with the classic and the half gain sound, and it just sounds really nice to me. It sounds like a really nice kind of classic Les Paul type sound.
Yeah. It's a weird thing that happens, but when the pickups are right on a guitar, you feel like, oh, this guitar plays nicely.
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with the way it plays. Do you know what I mean? But it's right. You feel more of the characteristic of the strings moving under your fingers because you can feel it translated through the pickups, which is traditionally why people start coming back to Strats.
Yeah, exactly. I think these are really good for something that's just come out. We're starting to see a lot of kind of famous people using them now. So a lot of artist signature series comes out. Devon Townsend.
So am I right in thinking that with the printed ones, you're going to have less mechanical issues, right? Right.
Yeah. So they shouldn't ever go microphonic or anything like that.
Right.
The wiring on them is a lot more tricky.
Right.
Very difficult to wire up if you're looking to do it yourself. But what's really nice about them is when you buy them, they come with all the switches, like the push-pull pots and everything, and all the wiring you need for the main part of the wiring.
So what does a set cost you, or is that a way to look at them? Do you buy them in pairs or
well, you can buy them singly or in pairs. I recommend buying them in pairs because you wouldn't really want to match one of these with a standard pickup. The only way you'd want to buy them singly is if you're just running a single humbucker guitar or something. You can buy Telecaster, Stratocaster versions as well.
Sure.
But yeah, they come in a nice box. You've got the cables in there you need. You've got the battery clip. You've got the push-pull pots. So everything you need to do it. Interestingly, when I
but you didn't answer my question.
Sorry, the money.
How much?
A lot of money.
Is it?
Yeah, they're more money. They're more money than a set of bare knuckles.
Right. Okay.
Now I can't give you an exact price right now. I'll put it up on the screen, the retail price, because I get them at trade, and it would be fair to quote that. And
I think it's kind of what you would expect, considering it's it's a just slightly, it's a new technology, isn't exactly, it? Yeah.
And but it does come with the pots as well, so you are saving money on it. I know it's not considerable compared to the pickup.
Well, it is because you want to buy quality pots as well, and just the hassle and everything else. It's almost I can see the logic of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're worthwhile, and a lot of people use them. Obviously, there is a downside, and that's that you have to change batteries.
Right.
But you can get an additional like chargeable battery pack that charges up by USB.
Okay.
Seems to be a weird charge in your guitar though, doesn't it?
I don't like it. Yeah. It doesn't suit my brain hole.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I really struggled with that S-Type because of the amount of wiring in there. If you look at the back of it, the next one, no, other way.
This one.
Yeah, the S series. I've had to cut a hole in the plate just to fit all the switches, and it's absolutely bulging because there's a battery in there as well. Not really built for a S series openers.
Because these are really skinny guitars, aren't they?
Yeah. But that's wicked guitar, man. Right. So, one other type of weird humbucker pickup I've got, and that's on my 7-string.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab it. And this I built using the Lace Alumitones. So, like the Lace pickup in the single coil we looked at earlier in the Mustang-shaped guitar, these are interesting. Instead of having coils, they're actually made of metal all the way around, and then the magnets sit in between those pieces of metal, and the metal itself acts as the coil, and then the whole thing is just kind of bolted down into the guitar. So I don't know if you can get close up to the camera, but you can actually see underneath the humbuckers, which makes them super light, but also gives them quite a lot of output as well. I don't know if you can see.
You'll have to do a close up later on, I think.
Close up later, yeah.
Yeah, they sound pretty beastly, don't they?
Yeah, it's a bit unfair because obviously you've got an extra string on there. But they sound nice. They sound nice. And these are wired as a traditional pickup. They're not active in any way. So yeah.
Interesting.
So we've got just a comparison there of different types of pickups, what's kind of new technology in humbuckers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's quite nice is that these things aren't, you know, a lot of people say that guitars are the same now as they were in the 50s. That's only if you buy like a traditional Strat or Les Paul.
Yeah.
Some people are really making moves to change things up and to make things, you know, more usable and more variety and sounds, etc.
I mean, I always come back to sort of somebody like Ned Steinberger. If you look at the pickup choices that he was making in the 80s, that sort of leans towards where stuff is going now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like he was big on the EMGs and having those nice big active or chunky plates of magnet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seems like that's where it's going now as well. I mean, I'm really interested in all this kind of chip technology because it's starting to filter into amps as well now, isn't it? Having the valves like pressed into chips and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It means nothing to me. You could show it to me and I'd be like, "What's that?" But it sounds cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's lightweight, and we're all about that.
Definitely.
Small and light. Yeah, 100%.
Is there a conclusion to this? There isn't, is there?
The conclusion is I like messing around with new types of humbucker. I've got lots of different types of humbuckers. The conclusion is if you spend a bit more money, you do tend to get a bit more.
This is possibly utopian, but I always kind of imagine, could there be a one-stop guitar, right? Mm-hmm. And at the moment, I don't think so. Like, I think you need something with humbuckers on it, and something with single coils on it. But I think it's getting closer and closer.
I think you need to pick. I think to get a one-stop guitar, you need to pick whether you want a humbucker guitar or whether you want a single coil guitar. Because like you say, yes, you do need both because they do something completely different. But then if you take them both to a gig, you can't use them through the same rig necessarily because they're going to sound wrong. The amp's going to be dialed in for one or the other, and you don't want to take two amps along. So
but isn't that kind of what the idea of the Variax is?
Yeah.
And does it do that or not?
I mean, it says it does that.
Yeah.
I haven't yet to try it live, so I will not. I will not kind of say yes or no at this stage. But yeah, don't get me wrong. The idea of having, for me, a Variax kind of set up with the Piazza, so I can get, the kind of sounds out of it you get from an acoustic live without the squealing feedback from an actual acoustic. And then the modelling on that, plus if I put the Fishman pickups in it as well, so I've got all the variations of those humbucker sounds, then that would be an ideal setup for me. Yeah, so that's how I think my conclusion is. If you give me a Variax with the Fishman Moderns, then I've got everything I need.
That would be interesting. Yeah, maybe that's something to build.
Is that a prototype?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
okay.
That'd be cool.
God, the wiring on that is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. And you know I want it headless as well, right?
Yeah,
so yeah. So
cool. So no real conclusion other than maybe this has helped you decide what kind of pickups you want for your sound. If you've got any questions, feel free to email us guitargeekorama@gmail.com or leave a message in the comments below. Otherwise subscribe
and like
and all that stuff. Like, do like it. Get in touch, and we'll see you next time.
Nice one. See you later.